On today's episode of Let's Talk F1, we'll be discussing, have Lewis Hamilton haters gone too far? Fernando Alonso, will he be in the car in 2019 or 2020? And I'll be discussing my plans for the 2019 season. All this and more, next. Hello and welcome back to Let's Talk F1, everyone. It's been quite a while, hasn't it? It's been quite some time since we did one of these. Obviously, as you all know, if you've been following this channel or you keep a close eye on this channel, Formula E has been the name of the game at the moment for me. The brand new season over there. But that's been and gone now. We know we've got the season up and running in Formula E. I've got my videos out explaining Formula E, so if you gave it a go, brill, and if you didn't, then the next race is on the 12th of January, so still before Formula 1 starts. But as I've said throughout the weeks that I've been doing Formula E, that Formula 1 is still the biggest part of this channel, and of course I don't want that to go anywhere. And so rather than starting off with almost the big headline in Formula 1 at the moment, and that is Lewis Hamilton haters going way too far, I want to first talk about my plans for the 2019 season and the winter, because I think that's only going to take a couple of minutes or so, and it's something that I haven't had a chance to convey to you guys yet, and I think that'd be quite nice just to quickly get that out of the way, and then we can really sink our teeth back into some Formula 1 juiciness. So, let's start off then with my plans. So, as you know, the last couple of weeks, because of Formula E, because of the season ending, it's been a little bit strange, it's been a little bit funny, so coming up with some sort of schedule has been a little difficult, a little impractical. But I've come up with something that I think I'm going to stick with for the majority of my plans, really. Formula 1 content obviously will be the main focus. I've said this many a time, but that will be the main focus. Formula E content, though, will be there because that is something I still really enjoy making, really enjoy doing, and there's not a lot of that sort of stuff out there at the moment. So, on a Monday, that's my day off. Please allow me one day off a week. That'd be beautiful. But then on a Tuesday, I do have a Formula E video planned. Now, these sort of random videos are going to be, I'm not really too sure yet, but it's going to be just a Formula E video, whether that's short form, a top 5, whether that's going to be an in-depth conversation. I've not decided yet, but I've decided to leave that a little bit more open. On a Wednesday, of course, we've got Let's Talk F1, this show, my weekly Formula 1 talk show, love doing that. And on Thursday, it's going to be the Formula E version, the Formula E show. So those two are going to be kept the same most weeks. A Friday, I've got my weekend previews. So in the winter, again, that's going to change depending on what's going on over the weekend. When Formula E's there, obviously it's going to be a Formula E weekend preview. If Formula 1's going to show up or even practice for Formula 1 or pre-season testing, then obviously that'll be the preview. On a Saturday, I've got the race day for Formula E, preview, race review, all that stuff that goes on a Saturday. And on a Sunday, I've got my big Formula 1 opinion pieces. Now, that all sounds very vague, and I've tried to leave it as open as possible because part of me thinks, well, I love input from you guys, but I also know as well it's not your job to tell me what to do. So, I've sort of, last year on YouTube, so I've only done a year, I thought, well, I'll do a mixture of things, and I'll see what people like, people don't like, what I enjoy making as well. And something that I did very early on in my channel that saw really good growth, really good feedback from you guys, was really sort of documentary-style opinion pieces. And I know this is quite strange, but I did them, I suppose maybe March time. I spoke about Kimi Raikkonen, who would take his place, would Haas F1 ever win the World Championship, Fernando Alonso's future, all those sort of things, and they did really well, and I loved to make them. And so I thought to myself, well, if I enjoyed them and you guys did, well, why did I stop? And the main reason one was timing constraints, and again, because I wanted to try out all little different bits and bobs, and I've decided to go back to those sort of things. So that's going to be the video on a Sunday usually. That is going to be my opinion piece. So whether that's covering topics, well, about Fernando Alonso, will he come back to Formula 1? About maybe something, maybe lesser known, maybe Nico Hülkenberg, maybe his journey through Formula 1. And will he ever get a podium? Charles Leclerc, will he be world champion ever? Will Vettel stay at Ferrari for the rest of his career? Those sort of questions that I'd like to sink a bit of time into and produce something of a higher quality, rather than just me sitting here and chatting, which I'm still going to do, and I still love doing that with you guys. And if you haven't seen, after the Formula E race review, I did sort of a discussion piece with you guys, your reactions to the race, and that was something I want to introduce into the actual Formula 1 season. going through what you thought of the race as well, and we'll probably have something on Let's Talk F1 regarding that as well. So I want to bring back the documentary style things, and also I will be doing a series that I did actually spend a lot of time making the first episode of way back when, last year. It was the Career of series, and I started my first episode of Jenson Button, like the career of Jenson Button, and it was about an hour long. I loved to make it, and boy did it get hit with copyright strikes. Yes, there were plenty of copyright strikes on it, and that really did, well, poo-poo the situation, if you will, and, well, that really put me off making another video, because I spent so long making it, put so much time and effort into it. It took me a couple of months, really, to really put it into a place where I really liked it, and I was so disappointed that I couldn't put it up to show you guys. That really put me off doing the series, but it's something, again, that I really enjoyed making. It's a series I'm really looking forward to doing, and so what I'm going to do is on a Monday, that's the plan. It's going to be the Career of series, and they're going to be almost a 3 or 4-parter series. So the Career of Jenson Button, part 1, 2, and 3 will be on consecutive Mondays, and then maybe I'll have a couple of Mondays off to maybe reform a new 3-part series of a new driver. So that's the plan for 2019. Again, you know me, it's all subject to change, really, and university, they throw new timetables at me all the time, so that's always hard to balance as well. So being a channel like I am, where half of my videos are more news-based, you know, when news comes out, I've got to be as quick as I can to get it out to you guys. That is difficult when you've got timetable restraints. So that's the plan initially for 2019. Whether that stays or changes, I don't really have a clue, but that's what I'm going to do going forward. But let's get into the juiciness then. The bit that you've all come here for, I'm guessing. The clickbait, the thumbnail, Lewis Hamilton. Now, Lewis is always in the media, isn't he? He's probably the most notable, most recognisable, most famous Formula 1 driver, whether that's his on-track antics, obviously being a 5-time world champion now really helps with that, whether it's his off-track antics, making music, his fashion brand, or people say his fashion brand, but we all know it's just Tommy Hilfiger partnering with Lewis Hamilton, which Tommy Hilfiger all the time does partnerships with different people, so that's by the by. Lewis Hamilton this week, what is he under fire with? Well, I'm sure a lot of you are aware. A few days ago was Sports Personality of the Year, so that's something that we have in the UK where we give some awards to our best athletes of the year, and the winner went to Garrett Thomas. I don't know if I've pronounced that very well. I'm still not very good with names, so why I'm here I don't really know, but he won the Tour de France and it was very much deserved. Lewis Hamilton came second in the Sports Personality of the Year, which still in itself was a brilliant thing, but he made the mistake of, on stage, well, the headlines are reading that Lewis Hamilton has called out Stevenage, where he's from, as the Slums. And some of you, I'm already guessing, was not expecting me to cover this, because it's something arguably a little bit more political, something a little bit, well, extremely opinion-based sort of piece. And again, it's something I've never really done on this channel, so I'm brave. I'm being brave today. I don't really know why I've decided to do this, but it's got my back up a little bit. So if I'm going to feel passionate about something, I really want to talk about it. So all these newspapers, including the BBC themselves, have come out and they've said that Lewis Hamilton is slamming Stevenage. He's calling Stevenage the slums. But what did he actually say? What did he actually say that was so bad? Well, at the awards, he said this: it was really a dream for us, all a family, to do something different, for us to get out of the slums. Well, not the slums, but we did want to get out and do something. We all set our goals very, very high. We did it as a team. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? Now, obviously, there is little bits wrong with that. I'm aware of that a little bit. But I do feel that I'm not a Hamilton fanboy. I've had enough of that nonsense. Not a Hamilton fanboy, but I'm sure you're all aware. I'm not a Hamilton hater. I'm in the middle somewhere, I'd like to think, but you can call me what you want. I'm not really fussed. Right. It was a dream for us and the family to do something different. Brilliant. The bit that everyone's jumping on is for us to get out of the slums. Now, right, okay. Where I live, if someone called it the slums, I'd be a little bit annoyed. Right? I get that. on the opposite side of things, I know there's some pretty dodgy places where I live. And if you want to call that the slums, well, yeah, I can see that. I can get that. And at the same time, slums doesn't necessarily even mean, I suppose, the area. It could just mean the street you're living in. We've all seen, if you want to say that these back alleys of, I suppose, behind shops maybe, something like that. No offence to anyone who lives there. Again, this is going to be a really touchy subject, so even I've got to tread with a little bit of caution, which I don't always do. But I completely get that if you're from Stevenage, this would probably pee you off. But at the same time, he's not come out and said Stevenage is the slums. And it's just frustrated me that, I mean, I didn't think I'd be talking about this on my channel, but the likes of even, this is very similar to sort of the PewDiePie situation, where the media are jumping on him, saying he's an anti-Semite, all this, that and the other, but it's very sort of loose claims. We all know at the moment, well, you might not know at the moment, PewDiePie, I'm being so brave today talking about all this, blimey. I don't know where this has come from, but PewDiePie himself, he was promoting 28 YouTube channels. One of them had deeply embedded anti-Semitic messages, which obviously I don't condone whatsoever. But PewDiePie didn't know this. You know, he wasn't aware, and even if he was, he wouldn't have put it in there. And obviously all these media sites jump on him, and I think it's similar sort of thing with Lewis Hamilton. You know, any time something slightly out of place, I mean, you could argue that at the Sports Personality of the Year Award, that's still a little bit of a risky thing to say. But for me, like I say, if he thinks he was from the slums, maybe he was. You know, it's really hard, obviously, because if I knew exactly where he lived, if we all knew exactly where he lived, then it'd be easier to say. But again, you think about all your hometowns, or home cities, or wherever in the world, not even just in the UK. Just think about where you live, and there's all areas of where we live that we'd think, oh God, yeah, no, I wouldn't really want to live there. You know, I think we all get that. We all understand that. And so I personally think with, you know, we hear all the stories that his family had no money, they put all their money into Lewis Hamilton's go-karting and things like that. Well, there must have been some sort of cutback somewhere, and whether he means the slums as in even just the living conditions in his house. You know, I really think this has been hugely taken out of context, and again, it just really wound me up, because again, I'm not the biggest Hamilton fanboy, although this probably sounds like I am, I'm really not. But at the same time, it just really sort of wears you down after a while when every time something positive happens with Formula 1. The fact that he got second in Sports Personality, you know, I was buzzing. I was thinking, yes, this brings more fans into Formula 1, increases the amount of people that are aware of Formula 1, the brilliance of Lewis Hamilton, and yet the media, including, again, the likes of the BBC, that really surprised me. But then their motorsport department, I'm not the biggest fan of. I will happily disclose that one. But yeah, it was a little bit disappointing. But at the same time, like I said earlier, if I was from Stevenage, then probably, yeah, I would be slightly peed off. But again, I think after having some time to really think about this statement and take it in, yeah, I did find it a bit triggering that this was really sort of blown out of context. Because even as well, on the stage, he even says it straight away, the next sentence, when he says, well, not the slums. I mean, he even knows that the media were going to jump on this. So, again, that it frustrated me. The leader of the Stevenage Borough Council came out and said it was disappointing, and he felt like the people were really offended. And again, part of me can say, well, fair enough. And if this was just a tiny, I suppose, piece, a tiny piece that maybe a couple of news articles are coming out and saying it, fair enough. But it's the fact that almost everyone is jumping on it. Yeah, rubbed me up the wrong way. But of course, one of the main reasons I did this was I want to know your thoughts, because I'm pretty confident this is going to cause a big debate. I'm pretty sure I've put my balls on the line here. I really have, which was a very brave move around this time of the year in the winter. But I've gone for it because it is something I felt quite strongly about. But at the same time, I always like to think I've got an open mind about these sort of things. And if you're from Stevenage, or if you've had any sort of experience with other athletes doing this before, then I want to know. Because obviously, I mean, a lot you guys don't know where I'm from, but I'm from somewhere where there's not really a lot of many famous people whatsoever. No sports athletes or anything like that. So it's very different for me, and I come from an area where, again, I live in a beautiful part of England, but at the same time, there's some really shady areas that's not too far away. And I think that's what really ground my gears, because I think you can understand that slums is such a vague comment. If he came out and said, oh, you know, I came from Stevenage, the slums, I'd get it. I'd get it. But I think the slums, again, is such an interpreted comment that I just wanted to let my opinion be known. Because, again, in the community on YouTube, I haven't seen too much talk about this. That may be me being a bit naive, but it's something that I felt strongly about, that I was looking for other people's opinions, but all I could find really was news articles online which all, again, said the same thing. So this could be my naivety, really, but at the same time, some of these sort of news channels, again, like BBC Sport, I hate to really have a go at them because I've been a big fan of BBC Sport for a very long time, and it's where I get a lot of my Formula 1 news from. But, I mean, I'm just looking. Yesterday, they put out a piece about Raikkonen's haiku. I mean, that came out of the Japanese Grand Prix. I mean, they've got Ferrari to hold a Schumacher exhibition. That news has been out forever. And I believe that's been touring already within Germany. So, yeah, a little bit disappointed with them. I think a lot of news sites, because it's the winter for Formula 1, are going for clicks. And, you know, again, I understand that a little bit. But at the same time, I still think that you've got to be rational about this sort of stuff. And, yeah, a little too far for me. Yeah, especially considering the year Lewis Hamilton has had. You guys know I did do some sort of mini season reviews, but during exam period for university, that got really difficult. Fell behind really quickly and thought, you know what, because obviously I've got to do a season review at some point, but they've been done to death at the moment. They've been absolutely rinsed out of the season reviews, so doing something new and different is going to be difficult. And if you look at the likes of Chainbear F1's season review, my God, no one's beating that. That is a brilliant piece of work. So, I don't know what I'm going to do for season review yet, but I know my channel's called F1/E Reviews, so I've got to review this season. That's sort of the point. So, look, I'll think of something. I didn't really expect everyone to jump on a season review straight away. I mean, the weekend of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, everyone was starting them. I was thinking, nah, that's crazy. I mean, it's only my first year of Formula 1 YouTube, but still, I thought that is pretty mad. Give us some time to breathe, people, you know. And Formula 1 YouTube themselves have been throwing us content left, right, and centre, which, again, I don't really have much issue with. And that animation piece they put out, if you've not seen that, go and see that. That is brilliant. That's a right laugh. That really is one of the best things I've seen for a long time. But Hamilton has been great this year. And again, for me, this was something that wasn't needed. Again, you know, it didn't need to be said. But at the same time, what he's trying to get across is not a negative message, I feel. What he's trying to say is that anyone from anywhere can do anything. And again, you know, you might think, oh, I'm only a small YouTube channel. But again, I mean, a lot of us on YouTube, we just do it in our bedrooms. We do it in an office or in a bedroom, just talking. And again, I still find it crazy. I know, that's going to be too cliche. Too cliche of a YouTuber to say, oh, thank you. But, you know, I am thankful. I think you're all aware. And, look, it's about trying to put your own little spin on things. And if people like it, they like it. And if they don't, they don't. And that's why, again, I want to go back to some of the documentary-style things, even with the likes of Lewis Hamilton. You know, talking about these questions that sometimes in the community, people don't want to answer. And I'm happy to put my balls on the line a little bit. I am happy to do that, because if I feel passionate and strong about something, yes, I want to put my thoughts out there, but at the same time, I want to be challenged by it. I want people to say, no, you're wrong, and here's why. Because at the end of the day, again, this is going to sound cliche, again, so you're going to have to deal with this, but, you know, even myself, how am I going to learn about the community and things like that if everyone's all very PG and everyone just agrees with everyone? You know, it's even like the Max Verstappen Esteban Ocon crash. Again, I'm doing it again. I'm being brave today. But I didn't feel that was fully Ocon's fault, which at the very time of the incident, a lot of people, 99% of people disagreed. You know, nowadays people look back at the incident and they tend to agree that it was 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. So, yeah, a lot of difficult topics to talk about in Formula 1 sometimes. And I know over the winter, a lot of these sites, I mean, including myself, really, I'm talking about it. And I definitely didn't think I'd be talking about this sort of thing. But in a sense, you know, these articles are looking for clicks. They are looking for a reaction. So maybe I've taken the bait, really. I hope I haven't, but I probably have. But again, it's something that didn't trigger me at first. But when everyone was jumping on this, when the point of the night is really to celebrate British talent, and Lewis Hamilton is the most successful Formula 1 driver in Britain of all time. You know, he's got the most pole positions, he's hunting down those most race wins, laps led. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's got the points as well now, the most points ever scored in Formula 1. It's some crazy tallies and crazy stats this guy's really racking up at the moment, but it just let me down a little bit. I mean, again, probably because I'm a Formula 1 fan, there's going to be a biased opinion there a little bit. So, I want to fully disclose that. But again, it wasn't to my taste. And I just wanted to see what you guys thought. Because, yeah, that's the point of this series, really. Let's Talk F1 is me talking with you guys, you debating in the comments. We always have some great chats in the comments. So I think this one will spark some debate. But I think it's time we move on from Lewis Hamilton and talk about something a little bit lighter, something a little bit more to my taste, rather than going after some media and some journalists. That was, I don't really know what's come over me there, but obviously I woke up this morning with that fiery mood to really have a go at some journalists for some reason. But anyway, Fernando Alonso. Another difficult season for Fernando, let's be totally honest here. I mean, really, if you look at where he finished in the standings, 11th, I mean, should he have been there? I mean, no, he shouldn't in that McLaren is the answer. He really did pull out all the stops early doors in the season. I mean, this guy, we spoke about him for quite some time now. A true legend of Formula 1, as you hear my chair squeak, so I apologise about that. But there's been articles and rumours this weekend that not only is there an ever-increasing chance that this guy could come back in 2020, but it looks like he could have a support role next year in 2019. Very similar to when Michael Schumacher retired the first time, and then in 2007 had this sort of third driver, support driver sort of role at Ferrari. So it looks like Fernando Alonso could remain at McLaren and do that sort of thing at McLaren for next year. And possibly do some, testing runs. Whether that's on a Friday, FP1, FP2, that is the possibility at the moment. Now, again, I will like to make it clear that it's the winter of Formula 1 and Alonso's a big name at the moment. Does get you clicks. I'm aware of that. So, he's going to be a clickbaity name in this sense. I haven't put him in the thumbnail because Hamilton is the better. Well, yeah, okay. Well, shouldn't have said that probably. But Fernando Alonso, is he going to be in the car next year? I'm 99% sure he's not going to be. I'm 99% sure. Because you've got the two drivers coming in. Lando Norris, who's a rookie, who's done some FP1 sessions this year. Carlos Sainz, who they've brought in as a team leader, but at the same time isn't the most experienced driver, going into his 5th season of Formula 1. He's driven for Toro Rosso and Renault. Renault's probably, it is the most competitive car he's ever driven. And again, he's had a difficult year. So, here's the thing. Do you want to take Lando Norris out of FP1 sessions? A rookie driver who hasn't driven many of these circuits in a Formula 1 car whatsoever? Do you want to take out Carlos Sainz, who needs as much running as he possibly can, because he needs to keep confidence high, he needs to beat Norris, or else real question marks are going to be asked over his capabilities in the car. So, where do you put Fernando Alonso? I mean, yes, he's a brilliant driver. He's going to help develop that car for sure, although the last couple of years it's been challenging to really develop that car, so again, that could be questioned, but the only real reason that I can see that you'd put Fernando in the car is one for marketing, because obviously Fernando Alonso is very similar to Robert Kubica this year. I know again that's a little bit of a different sort of story, but when Kubica, even when Norris was in the car in practice this year, everyone's got their eyes on him. And I think that's what would happen with Fernando. And for McLaren, yes, he's going to give them okay data, but it's only going to be okay data because he's going to only drive the car a couple of times a year. So, I mean, I'm 99% sure you can squash those stories that he's going to be taking part in any sort of session in 2019. The only way that I can see him coming back is if we do have a Grosjean 2012 incident where either Norris or Sainz goes on some crazy crashing spree, or maybe one of these guys has to miss a race due to injury. I can see them bringing back Fernando. I can see him being ready. You know, he's just off the record for the most laps ever completed, so I can see him coming back. You know, that'll be something that he might be interested in just trying to do, maybe for a couple of races. But apart from that, I don't see it happening. I really don't see it happening. And 2020, this is the big question. Because McLaren have Norris and Sainz signed for 2020. So the only way that Alonso comes back is, first of all, for Alonso himself, if the car's half good, you know, if the car's half decent, he's probably going to throw a load of money at it rather than be paid. So that's probably a exciting prospect for McLaren as well. On a branding side of things, we know Zak Brown loves his sponsorships, never manages to sort out many particularly fancy sponsorships or a title sponsor he's never been able to find. So that would be crazy if they could get Alonso back on that side of things. But again, that means you're going to force Sainz or Norris to a third driver role or loan him to another team. Which, just to bring back Fernando Alonso, some guy who, yes, he's a multiple world champion, he would have been out of Formula 1 for a year. He's only going to stay in Formula 1 for a few more years if you bring him back. It's a big risk, a big play. And again, if Sainz or Norris isn't performing, fair enough. You know, then bring Alonso back if the car's good. And maybe for Norris, they're a little bit like Kevin Magnussen, put him on those sidelines again for the year, reintroduce him back maybe. I know McLaren didn't eventually bring back Magnussen, but that was the idea. So, look, it's a difficult one. It is, and as Formula 1 always is really difficult, and speculation's even harder. But Fernando Alonso, I find, is a really fascinating story and a really fascinating topic, which is why in the next few weeks I will be doing my first real opinion piece that I've done for almost 12 months, really, and it's going to be on the future of Fernando Alonso, almost a part 2, if you will, but I'm going to be looking at what particular series I think he's going to end up at. Do I think he's going to be back to Formula 1 right now? No, I don't. I really don't, and as much as we had the talk that he's going to leave it open, it sounds exactly like when Jenson Button left, exactly like when Felipe Massa left. I don't really know why they don't want to call it an official retirement, but I think Jenson Button, he was giving some advice to Lewis Hamilton a couple of years ago, and obviously I'm not a Formula 1 driver, but I thought it was some really good advice just for everyday life, and that was that he fell out of love in Formula 1 in about 2015, and he said, well, I want to retire this year, but I don't want to make that mistake. So what I'll do is, I'm confident I'll retire, so I'll do one more year just to make sure, and then I'll do it, which I thought was brilliant. And I think that's exactly what Fernando Alonso's done. I think part and parcel as well, that's what Kimi Raikkonen has done, by saying, I'll try something new before I quit completely. And I think that's what a lot of these drivers are doing, is at the end leaving that door open, because once you make the plunge, it's so hard to come back. And, you know, if you say you're leaving the door open, at least then you retain ties with the team. I mean, Alonso himself will be driving in IndyCar in 2019 for McLaren, so that's obviously his main focus. But on the flip side of this story, Alonso doesn't actually have that much planned for 2019. He's got IndyCar, Daytona, he's finishing off the WEC series, and that's it. I mean, I say that's it. That's still a lot, especially thinking he was an F1 driver over the last couple of years and he's partaking in those sort of series. So it's a surprise that he's not managed to find a full-time driver anywhere. That's for sure. And I think that's something that he's going to learn over this season, that yes, he can have a break, but does he want it enough? Is he interested in a full season seat, or is he interested in doing these almost global events like IndyCar, like he's done Le Mans, really just expanding his portfolio and picking up all these titles everywhere? And that's something that I think he will do. And I think he will continue this Triple Crown and make it some crazy crown. I mean, I think he'll keep going. I think he'll go to multiple different series. And I think, as a lot of you are aware, I think he will end up in Formula E. And I've always got to sneak Formula E into a video somehow, but I think he will end up in Formula E. I think that's almost inevitable at this point. Even though McLaren aren't looking to go into Formula E anytime soon, I think it's somewhere that Fernando could thrive. I think it's somewhere that's, again, a new challenge. A lot of people think Formula E, I mean, Formula 1 drivers, people assume are going to jump into Formula E and smash it straight away. Well, I think if you did catch Formula E this weekend, or if you didn't, that wasn't the case. Stoffel Van Dorn had a great qualifying, but the qualifying was in changing conditions, really wasn't representative of the teams and drivers. In the race, Van Dorn dropped right off the pace. The same as, well, I was going to say the same as Felipe Massa, but he had a fairly strong race, but wasn't anywhere near the front at any point. And Jean-Eric Vergne himself, the man who many people regard as the best driver in Formula E, when he first joined, really struggled in a Formula E car. And I think people don't understand that is a completely different skill set, and I think it's something that Alonso would absolutely love to do. But more of that coming in the next couple of weeks when I do my big sort of first opinion piece back doing that. It is a lot more serious if you've not seen me like that, which I know might sound a little bit crazy, me being serious for once, but yeah, it does actually happen. So that is it for this week's shorter episode of Let's Talk F1. I mean, it's still half an hour long, so I feel sorry for your ears having to listen to me for this long, but I appreciate it as always. Obviously, links to everything I've spoken about will be in the comments below as always. And if you are new around here and you've listened to me for this long, why don't you hit subscribe? That would be brilliant. And also there is a notification bell so you don't miss any videos. And at the same time, it doesn't mess up the system. I mean, YouTube is a crazy system. So if you would hit that bell, if you enjoy, if you don't feel the need to. But thank you guys for watching as always. Again, I'd love to know in the comments your thoughts about all the topics we have discussed today. I've got some exciting news again, something new that I haven't spoke about today, coming out in the next few weeks regarding something that's going on in January. I'll be on stream with the F1 Word later tonight to talk Formula E, and I'll be on with the F1 Word at the weekend regarding the Christmas special, so that should be a lot of fun. Thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.